Hey everybody, ZAVGreviews here, back again with another review, and today I'm reviewing Pokemon X and Y. Let's get started. Okay, so I know that some very popular Pokemon players and Pokemon specialists on YouTube, such as Tamashi Hiroka and the J-Wits, who, by the way, is the person's footage I'm using for this Let's Play. It's the start of his X and Y Let's Play, so I recommend it. Go check it out. Have already given their opinion on this game. And while I might not be a Pokemon loyalist like them, trust me, I'm a pretty big fan of the series, so I do have my own take on the game. Let's just get right to the point. The Pokemon main story I find to be pretty boring. It's mainly about Team Flare and their leader, who basically kinda wanna just make a new world. Think of Team Galactic's motive, except not as entertaining because the other members besides the leader isn't really anything special. In fact, I find them kind of boring. The story in this game is just sort of lackluster. The leader of the team is cool, and his motive of everybody sucks and they should all die is pretty entertaining, but it's nothing special, unfortunately. On the other hand, I do have to admit that the actual region looks really nice, but I don't really have as much fun exploring it as I do other Pokemon games. I find it better than Pokemon 5th Generation in Black and White, but I don't think it's as fun as, say, Generation 3 or the Generation 1 or anything. It's just kinda eh. Personally, I think it's because this game tries to stick way too many landmarks in the game when all they need is just sort of a not-so-linear route to get from town to town that makes you feel like you're on an adventure. Well, this game I feel like just tries to shove too much in your face at one time, which makes it not very entertaining. That being said, this game, like I said before, looks amazing. The 3D graphics are great, and I know for everyone out there who's going to be a stickler about this was not the first Pokemon game to do 3D graphics. Gale of Darkness, Colosseum, and the regular Pokemon Stadium games did this before. But this is the first Pokemon main adventure game where you go and you get 8 badges and you defeat the evil team and you beat the Elite Four. And it looks really nice. 3DS graphics, console graphics, it doesn't matter. The game, all in all, looks very impressive. And so do the 3D battling animations. They all look great. Now, going back to the main story, you actually have 4 friends/rivals that accompany you on this journey. Shauna, oh god, I don't remember their names. Well, there's a fat dude and a nerdy guy. Sean is basically the other important one, and Serena, who is your actual rival, which is the blonde one. Now, like I said before, just for the facts that I couldn't remember their names, 2 of the people really aren't that exciting, I guess would be the word. The big dude and the small, nerdy, orange-haired kid just kind of seem to be there. They really never have any kind of significant character value, except the small, nerdy one is kind of nerdy, and the big one likes to dance. Shauna and Serena, on the other hand, or your other rival if you are a girl, have a lot more personality. Your actual rival, whether it be the boy or the girl, depending on what gender you chose, becomes much more of a character who's determined to do what you are determined to do. That's to be the best. And Shauna, just overall, tries to be a character who wants to sort of grow up. She wants to be somebody who's helpful, and she knows that she can't do that alone, so she's trying to work with her friends to become more of a better person. It's a pretty cool storyline, but personally, I don't think you need 4 rivals. I think Shauna and Serena would have been just 5, and the 2 other dudes are just kind of overkill. So the rivals, half and half, are alright, even though at times your actual rival, depending on which gender you chose, can be kind of boring. The only one personality-wise I really actually like is probably Shauna. So overall, the main game is pretty lackluster, which is unfortunate because even the gym battles are just kind of shallow. I mean, you know how in every Pokemon game you'll have a gym leader who has the really tough Pokemon of the bunch and maybe another memorable Pokemon in the mix like Whitney's Clefairy that knows Metronome or Morty's Haunter that knows Hypnosis and Dream Eater. Well, in this, all the gym leaders' Pokemon are fairly balanced, and they really don't have one tough Pokemon, and besides maybe 1 or 2 gym leaders, you don't see them outside of their gym, which is really boring. Yeah, I guess you can say overall, I didn't really like the main game in this, But honestly, I think Pokemon X and Y is really all about the after game. And while the actual metagame, like things you do within the game, isn't that incredible, it's all about being able to use Wi-Fi easily, and I mean extremely easily. You're able to do so many things like wonder trade with people, trade regularly with people, battle people, register friends easily. It's so amazing, all this different stuff you can do online in this game. It's so much easier and a lot more fun to collect Pokemon. It's a lot easier to EV and IV train for the more competitive group out there. The metagame is just so much fun. And I feel like what Pokemon X and Y were trying to do, where they were really trying to focus on some specific categories for a certain type of audience for the Pokemon series. For example, I don't really feel like they spent much time focusing on the plot or the regular gameplay of this Pokemon game. That's just my personal opinion. But I think for the younger audiences, they really went for a cartoony, very impressive visual system that made it feel like you really had your own Pokemon, which is something little kids would be ecstatic over. Not to mention they have the fan service Mega Evolutions, which I hate, but that's a story for a different time. All those things are in there to entertain the kids. And the story, while it's not bad, the kids really aren't going to pay attention to it. They're going to have fun going from town to town, collecting their badges, collecting their Pokemon, noticing the incredible visuals that make the Pokemon seem alive. That's the stuff for the kids. And then you have the stuff for the more veteran players in the metagame. They didn't really focus on the metagame story, metagame-wise. They focused on the Wi-Fi stuff and the competitive battling, which is honestly what players like competitive players want. And what they did is incredible. It makes a system for actually doing a whole bunch of things that you would usually need to do incredibly easy, which is a great thing. It's not a bad thing to have all these EV and IV different training systems to make what you need to do to be able to competitively battle a little more time-consuming, but in past games it was difficult and frustrating. In this one it's a lot easier. So Pokemon X and Y is basically a love letter to Pokemon fans, but just in very specific categories. They really made a couple things in this game really, really great, like the visuals and the Mega Evolutions for kids, and then the Wi-Fi and the EV training for veteran players, but honestly I felt like they focused too much on one specific thing. The story could have been a lot better, and the region could have been a lot more to explore. For what it is, Pokemon X and Y that is a game that really does give fan service to the people that matter most, the fans, and it's visually stunning. And if you're a metagame player, and if you're a competitive battler, you'll have tons of hours of fun with this game. And even a regular Pokemon fan wouldn't mind deleting their file every once in a while and going through the game again, because it is that visually impressive, even though the plot might not be all there. Pokemon X and Y gets an 8 out of 10, and you should definitely buy it, whether you're an older Pokemon fan or a younger Pokemon fan.